Alrighty then, boys and girls, let's take a little bit of a look at what's been going on in the economy of World of Warcraft this week. We do this every Monday, so if you're watching this live on Twitch, drop your questions in the Twitch chat. If you end up watching this at a later date on YouTube, welcome. We are going to go through this in a succinct manner as possible. Samadan puts this little report for us together each and every week. If you don't know who Samadan is by now, you really should do. You can go check him out on either his YouTube or his Twitch channel. He's considered the Bob Ross of gold making for the most part. He's well worth taking a little bit of a look into. He puts this report together though for us, and this week, due to the Burning Crusade being released, TBC Classic, it is tailored somewhat towards that. There are some stuff in here that is more general that we'll go through. So let's take a little bit of a look at the table of contents. Firstly, of course, the classic Burning Crusade is here. Big topic of conversation. Lots of people playing it right now. Tales from being banned. I believe this has got to do with a fellow YouTuber by the name of Modest Millions. We will get into that in a bit of detail. A little bit of talk and speculation about auction house bots. Bots are a hot topic of conversation at almost all times, it seems, at the moment. Auction house bots are in the limelight this week. Somebody's been able to put together some interesting data to exactly how they think these auction house bots are operating. So we'll go through that. There was a new auction house podcast, which is Jack and Zanzaful's podcast. There was a special guest appearance on this episode that I have sneaky suspicion you might know who it is, and then of course some further reading for those that want to dive a little bit deeper. So of course, first topic of conversation, classic Burning Crusade is here. Now I personally have not been playing the TBC Classic. I might get into it a little bit at a later date, but my schedule is just crazy right now, so I will do my best to try and, you know, throw some light on the topics of conversation here, but I'm going from 15-year-old memories rather than 15-hour memories, so you'll have to excuse me if I make any subtle mistakes. But, so yes, the Dark Portal has opened. Let's take a look at what it means for gold making in Classic, and how can people get that large amount of gold that they need for flying. Well, firstly, one thing I do remember from Classic is that the inflation going from vanilla to TBC was ludicrous. You could grind away for hours and hours simply to achieve almost nothing in terms of gold making on Classic, but you quest for a few hours and run through some of the dungeons in the Burning Crusade, and all of a sudden you are a wealthy goblin. So the gold economy is going to completely change. Koya with the resub, thank you very much. I highly appreciate it. Welcome back. Mad Season is a big World of Warcraft YouTube content creator, and he put together a good video about how to choose your profession. I think this video was actually put out quite a while ago, but Mad Season has a very very interesting style to his content. If you don't know who Mad Season is, then you absolutely should do. Go check his content out. And if you're intrigued on what profession is going to be right for you, he has a video that will help you out doing just that. There are a good list of enchants that Samadan's put together as ones to keep your eyes on. Weapon major spell power, boot bore speed, two-hand weapon major agility, and so on and so on. The weapon ones are going to be really popular for sure. Any enchanting is a big thing in the early expansions of World of Warcraft. I want to say that in TBC there wasn't vellums still, so you actually had to either be or find an enchanter to do your enchanting. Once again, somebody will correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Solheim has put together a series of videos going through various gold making methods in TBC Classic, and this one is going through phase 1 investments. Solheim is very heavily focusing right now on TBC Classic and is pumping out the content. In true fashion, most of his content is like farming related, not so much on the crafting side of things, but I'm quite sure give it a few days he'll be showing that side of the goal making as well. Solheim is, yes, very well worth checking out for some information regarding Classic. He's put together huge quantity of information for you guys to digest. The investment side of things, whilst I would say this is probably something useful to watch, I would also probably say that the best investments to have made for the Burning Crusade Classic were probably those that could be made before the expansion went live. So there's an element of missing the boat on that, but knowing what is new in TBC and what people will need in large quantities will certainly help out long term. There's a small little list here of things that will be popular materials needed for cooking. So the chunk of basilisk, the cleft hoof meat, ravager flesh, serpent flesh, towelbuck venison, warped flesh and strange spores are all things to keep your eyes on when doing some leveling. That these could be, they're not just, you know, throwaway vendor meats. These are things that people are going to need for cooking and will certainly have some value to them. It is an interesting time that all of this has been done before, so now we're coming into it with a lot more knowledge and how this is going to affect the markets considerably. Yeah, this is part and parcel of why I've not been super keen to dive into the Burning Crusade personally. The game is just, even though it's the same game, the player base is totally different nowadays. There's no secrets anymore. One thing I really enjoyed 15 years ago about playing Classic and the Burning Crusade was that a lot of stuff wasn't unknown. You needed to, you know, share knowledge with guildmates and that sort of stuff on how stuff was done. Whilst there were community resources out there, they were nowhere near as in depth and as popular as they are today. So it really is a different game. It being totally proven by the fact that people have smashed their way through all of the Phase 1 content almost already within like a week. So I don't think that the Burning Crusade, I mean, Blizzard are deliberately time gating it because I don't think that there's enough content to keep today's World of Warcraft players busy for all that long. But of course, if you're taking it easy and you're taking it casually, there's still plenty to do. Let's see what some of the people, some of the comments that was said regarding some of these materials. Yes, I do not think herbs or food will sell well initially. Personally, I'm not expecting consumables to drive the economy as strongly as they did in Classic. And the big push in the beginning is probably going to be getting that crafted gear together. I mean, consumables are like the bread and butter of any economy. So maybe it's true to say they might not be as big of a thing as they were in Classic. That's not to say consumables aren't going to be a massive thing in TBC. I think that's a bit misleading, but sure. At least this is what I would do if I was carrying over a handful of gold from Classic and wanted to make performance benchmarks at the beginning of TBC. Sure. Yeah, I mean, if you've got, it's true to say exactly the same as retail. If you've got gold, then you don't need to spend time farming because you've already got the gold. Use that gold to buy your materials, craft your items with those, and then make sure you sell everything at a profit. And then you win. GG. Routine Spread 2822 said, the problem is that endgame is so well known to the hardcore people will already have plans that if you're tier 3, you're basically at level 70 blue gear, so you'll just power through everything, farming the important reps through the dungeons. Well, dungeons only give you reputation up until a certain point. I believe it's honoured. After honoured, you can still gain reputation for the dungeons, but it's from the heroic dungeons, which of course are... you can only complete the heroic dungeon once a day, so the rep grinds are still rep grinds in TBC. That's for sure. Even if you're strolling in with like crazy amounts of of gear to start with, but it's the second or third wave where things should pick up, as that's where alts and professions really start to spend money. Obviously, if you've been collecting professions, then you use them to level up, but I'd say the sweet point will be around a week after, as people start to get really serious and ready to raid. Yeah, I mean, unless you play on like the Feralina streamer server, I would imagine there's not all that many people that have even hit level 70 yet on most realms. There will certainly be a lot of them, because people will go hard, and people did go hard. But your average guild is probably not going to, you know, be gearing up for raiding for a few days still. So there's still time. There's still time. But good luck to anybody in the Burning Crusade Classic that's either planning on, you know, gearing up and leveling alts, or whether they're just like utilizing it for gold making, an alternative platform to make gold on. There's lots of gold to be made in TBC, that's for sure. This is going to be an interesting topic of conversation. We touched on this a little bit a few days ago. Tales from being banned. Modest Millions shared their experience about getting caught up in the recent bot ban waves and how they were eventually able to get it overturned. So, for those who want a bit of backstory to this, in fact, there's a good chance he goes through the backstory, but I'll give you a bit of a backstory. Modest Millions is a YouTube content creator similar to myself, focusing very heavily on the gold making and the economy in World of Warcraft. He got his accounts banned. They were, I tell you what, maybe I'll just read what he quotes, and then we can go into it in a bit of detail. So, hey everybody, recently about 2 weeks ago, permabanned on all my accounts for hacking and botting. Short story, for some of them got overturned for a false positive, and was given some game time and some free additional game time on top of that, so they're all good. So Blizzard noticed that they made a mistake, and they, you know, they rectified the situation. But he wanted to talk a little bit about what happened, because honestly it kind of looks bad. So, story time. So I multi-box craft an auction house post without using any software or anything, so that nothing should, quote unquote, trigger the warden system, but mistakes do happen. So I woke up about 2 weeks ago to a full permaban on all of my accounts for hacking and botting. I had to make 5 different appeals to finally get somebody to look at the account for real. So here are the appeals, the time frames, and how they responded. This is something that's relatively scary, right? That you have to go through. If you know you are innocent, you have to go through so many appeals to even get an actual real human being to, you know, actually take a little bit of a look into it, which is difficult. It's not a situation you want to get yourself in. So, first appeal went in within 24 hours of the ban, and they received an auto cut and paste response that the ban would be upheld. Took roughly 40 hours to get that copy paste arena. Second appeal was made about an hour after they marked the first one resolved. The first GM said you were botting, so we will uphold this decision. I'm not sure if that's a direct quote, because that's not even very grammatically correct, but sure. Took about 24 hours to get that response. Third appeal, made within minutes of the second one again, took about 60 hours for a response. This is the crazy thing, right? We're not talking about like a quick email chain between you and a GM. We are genuinely talking about like days between any sort of I mean, you might as well be using pigeon mail at this point. Like, what's the point of email when it takes 60 hours to get a response from a multi-billion-dollar company, you know? But after a short investigation, we can see you have been botting, so we will uphold the decision. If this is the scary thing, if you make another appeal, it will probably go unread due to the decision being final. They are generally trying to get people to stop contacting them about ban appeals, which is crazy, right? One moment. Hate to have to do this in the middle of a stream, but There we go. So, fourth appeal. Now this is the one where I'm both shocked and mad about the response. Made this again within minutes of the third appeal being marked resolved and took an additional 30 hours. So if we add up the time it took, like 40 hours to begin with, another 24 hours for a response, 60 hours, another 30 hours. This is ridiculous, right? This is crazy amount of time that's going on just to get, you know, somebody properly to actually look at your account. After a thorough investigation, we confirmed that you were participating in exploitative behavior. So this time they've changed the tone, right? They've changed it from being hacking and botting to exploitative behavior, and we'll be upholding your permaban on the account. Just understand that any appeals made regarding this decision after we take it may be taken against your Battle.net account. So not only are they saying, right, no, stop appealing, they're now saying that if you keep appealing, we will take action against your entire Battle.net account, not just, you know, your individual World of Warcraft accounts. So Modest Millions did the only logical thing and risked it for a biscuit, and requested a high-up GM to review it again. Now this is where it all starts to, the story starts to get a little bit better. So I made this about an hour after the first was resolved. Took 20 minutes to get a response. So of course that was the fastest it had been, and I thought they would just simply ban the Battle.net. But they, Modest Millions got a hi, I'm a higher GM and will review your account and rest data logs from our hacking and botting department. It may take 3 to 5 days for me to respond through email, but please hang in there while they escalate this. So this feels like the very first time that anybody actually, like, that Modest Millions was able to even get a real human response. Everything prior just felt like intern level copy and paste, even up to the point where they start threatening to take action against your Battle.net account. Still felt very automated, very, you know, just paper like shuffling through the papers kind of thing. Obviously Modest Millions was super happy, but then only 30 minutes after that first message, hi again. After a quick review, I'm able to confirm this was a false positive ban and I will not need to escalate it at all. I have refunded you 14 days of game time and I am sorry for the mistake. Well, it took an actual human being less than 30 minutes to realise that it was a false positive. What is a false positive though? This is what kind of gets the cogs ticking for me. A false positive, let's talk about it from the point of view of that. Let's look at like your antivirus software, for example. Everybody can relate to this. Like, you have your antivirus software on your computer. If you download something from a website that you 100% trust and know is legitimate, but your antivirus software doesn't know what that thing is you've downloaded, it may flag that thing as a virus because it just doesn't know what it is. But of course you can then go in and say, no, this is fine. That is in essence a false positive. What concerns me somewhat is, what was it that triggered this false positive in the first place? That's the more interesting thing to me, because it seems, I mean, there's multiple options, right? There's multiple things it could be, but there must have been something that triggered the warden system to begin with, and that's unfortunately something that we will never know. But it really is somewhat concerning that, I mean, you're always going to get false positives, right? But what triggered that false positive in the first place? Was it people reporting his auction house character because he was being too competitive, you know? Was he out farming and people report? What was it that caused it in the first place? That would be really, really interesting to find out. But like I said, we'll never know, unfortunately. But the be all and end all. There is a happy outcome to the story. So after they've decided that it was a false positive, the accounts got given back, game time was added, and you know, happy story all round. But the concern really is what caused that false positive in the first place, and how can we, you know, prevent that from being a thing long term. I don't know the answer to that, but it would be interesting to find out. In one of his vids, he was cancel scanning a lot of enchants and reposting it. Probably player reports got him flagged. Yeah, I mean, we'll never know. We'll generally never know, but we'll never know. Anyway, in a similar similar vein but different, we will now talk for a few minutes about some auction house bots. There was a really interesting thread that turned up on the WoW Economy subreddit a couple of days ago, talking about how somebody has tracked an interesting pattern of potential bot activity on the auction house. Now, of course, we've all been talking recently about like bots in general, and how we know that there's been a ban wave that's gone out. We know that there's been changes to the policy in relation to multi-boxers, which we tried as much to put 2 and 2 together, and you know, try and assume that the reason they had to change the multi-boxing rules was to give Blizzard more flexibility to take action against the bots. And for the most part, it seems to have been that way. But let's talk about one sector of bots that is talked about quite heavily in the goal making community, but less so outside of it, and that's auction house bots. So this auction house user by the name of Auction House Genie sent a bit of information to Blizzard in regards to some information they found out. So let's take a little bit look at what they put. So I'll preface this with the comment that I know baiting auctions with low priced materials and sniping the people who are tricked is not against the terms of service. These are like when people are posting a single piece of heavy callus hide for like a few gold, trying to get people to post large amounts of it under it so that they can quickly snipe the materials. It's gross auction house play, and it's real scumbag behaviour, but people do it, and technically it's not against the TOS. But of course, if you start automating that process, then yes, that definitely is. But so they give a little summary of what's going on. So there are bots sitting in Booty Bay on 14 servers, all high or full pop servers, logged in 24 hours a day. They operate as the snipers. They never move. They time out every 30 minutes and log in again within 8 to 10 seconds. There's also a second account for each server sitting at the Mists of Pandaria Shrine, which logs in every 8 to 9 minutes and posts a collection of quantity 1 of several different Shadowlands materials. The sniper bots then buy any listings posted at or below that price, interestingly leaving 2 items and the original listing. This is probably the telltale way that you can sort of see that it's a bot. This has been going on for literally months, and although mostly you'll just see anecdotal reports of it. So I believe the reason it's 14 servers is there are 16 WoW accounts over 2 Battle.nets, 2 of which round robin the baiting accounts, and the remaining 14 run the Booty Bay bots. I also suspect the relisting is botted, but that is not totally clear. It's done by other characters in each guild, which are also sitting in the shrine. Other circumstantial evidence: guild something they've chosen to not. They've redacted the actual guild name. But on Zul'jin has a bunch of leftover sub-rogues, which I assume were used for botting in the past but are now banned or retired. It's definitely symptomatic of bad bot behaviour. Also the Booty Bay bots have all of their same away messages. Character name is away with then these random Chinese symbols at the end of it, which I guess is Chinese for away. The fact that these have away messages with Chinese symbols in them is just like a massive red flag. Huge red flag. It tends to confirm that it's one overarching owner, especially when all of their away messages are exactly the same. They put together a table of the accounts and the guilds for the servers. They cycle. The cycle is the time gap between the logins. Blah, 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 blah. I've looked at the rest of the servers as well and did not retain logs. Needless to say, it's been extremely predictable over the time I've been watching. And I think the botter has added several servers in the past month. And at one point was only doing this with one account. Well, so to summarise, what it feels like somebody is doing is they have some accounts set up constantly running sniper scans. So you can use TSM Sniper to constantly scan the auction house. Like, it just repeatedly scans the same item. And so anything that appears under your set threshold will show. And I imagine these bots are then just instantly buying all of anything that turns up under these amounts. But the real interesting thing was the fact that they're leaving 2 items and the original. So they're never just buying out all of it. They're buying all of it minus 3 of it to make sure that some is always left up there, which is really gross. The server with these bots are Area 52, Bleeding Hollow, Dalaran, Hyjul, Illidan, Mal'Ganis, Proudmoore, Sargeras, Stormrage, Thrall, Tichondrius, Zul'jin, Barthalas, and Yubalithos. The cycle time for the bait bots right now is 8 minutes 45 seconds. See, like, the fact that everything is almost perfectly timed is a massive red flag as well. You can see the bait account by watching auctions of the things like Desolate Leather, Alethrium Ore, most of the herbs, etc. for a bunch of deep undercuts in the quantity of only 1. You can find the Booty Bay bot by flying down there or by listing 3 Desolate Leather at the discounted price. And when one of the 3 is sniped, cancelled, the other 2... Oh, so they're baiting out the buyer's name by selling 1 item to the sniper scanners to get the buyer's name. That's quite clever. Add them to the friend list and you'll see how problematic the behaviour becomes. A little bit of an update. Well, maybe they are being banned. The bait bots seem to have all gone, and 8 of the 14 Booty Bay bots are gone. They are still present on a few realms though. Well, well, well. Well, well, well. Maybe it's simply that, you know, they saw the thread and they were like, oh, let's just turn it off for a few days. Let's go back. Let's go hide in the shadows again. Who knows? Oh, a comment from our good friend Woo. Woo was in the chat earlier today. Comment from my good friend Woo. Having also noted the same behaviours, my observations were as follows. Although taken individually, each of these points is not obvious evidence of bot activity, but whilst taken as a whole, I think they form a pretty clear picture. Characters virtually all have unpronounceable names with lots of special characters in them. This makes it very difficult for people to quickly type out their name, either to whisper them or to report them. And I presume has been a tactic that has been used by bots for years, because bots don't need to, like, they don't need to do anything with the character names once they've created it. So it's a weird tactic, but when they all do it, bit sus, right? The fact that each of the characters listed below lists the same amount of materials in stacks of 1 on 9 or more servers. Yeah, doing the exact same thing across multiple servers. Sus. Based on observations, the characters post in 7 to 9 minute intervals without fail, all times of the day. As an EU player playing on NA realms, they were on at all times of the night and even throughout the day when playing. Yeah, an indication that these guys are on 24 hours a day. Well, real people have to sleep, right? Real people have to sleep. I've managed to add these characters to friends, have observed that they log on for 30 to 60 seconds, check the mail, then post their items and immediately log out. I think they're using alternative accounts to buy items that are posted to match their low value single posts. So yeah, mate, and this is probably a thing, right? They're logging in, they're posting, they're logging out. They're not actually choosing to stay online 24 hours a day, because if they log in and log out really quickly, there's less time for people to, you know, see what they're doing and report them, especially if they've got these stupid character names. This is all very deliberately designed to hinder people's ability to report them. All of the posting characters are low level on the dominant faction, which is a likely indicator of gold selling activities. True. If like you have a very horde dominant server and it's happening on horde, yeah, there's a strong possibility there. Checking the guild name of some of the characters, they are full of low levels with random names and have very few achievements, because they're just churn accounts, right? They're accounts that mean nothing to anybody. Exact same behaviours are evident on multiple servers. Yeah, so it's apparent that this is at least, I mean, you could say that this is being done at scale, but at least it appears that it's only really being done at scale by a single individual. Which of course means when that one individual chooses to stop doing it, the whole problem disappears. But it also appears that this is a very custom designed operation. It's designed with a specific purpose in mind, and is probably not something that your average Joe that Googles a World of Warcraft bot is going to be able to set up. So this is somewhat limited, and if Blizzard can squish this, the problem should hopefully fully go away. But it's really interesting to see that people are able to track their activity, even though they're going really far out of their way, and blatantly, obviously, going out of their way to prevent people able to track them. You know, these unpronounceable characters in their names, and logging in for only 30 seconds to post auctions before logging out again. There's lots of stuff that's very, very fishy. Very, very fishy. So if you see anything of that nature, obviously I try and recommend people be cautious when they just when reporting people. You want to have like, and don't just report somebody with the words bot. Give Blizzard as much information as you possibly can. Now I'm not saying take out some, you know, secret agent level like spy operation on these characters, but you know, just run a little bit of due diligence before you report people, because of course it cuts down the amount of false positives. If you just see somebody online 18 hours a day playing the auction house, that's not necessarily proof enough that they're a bot. But if they have super consistent posting schedules, they log on, they log off at exact time frames, they have weird character names, they're in a guild that is also full of other low-level characters with weird character names. You know, as I think Wu said it pretty well here. Although taken individually, they do not prove as evidence of bot activity. But you know, when a few of these activities added together, it becomes a lot more suspicious. You know, so it's my analogy of that if you walk around town dressed as a clown, people are probably going to identify you as a clown. Yeah, considering some languages, obviously, I mean, these letters are, you know, part of people's languages, but for the most part, most servers, especially if it's on English-dominated realms, yes, it's a little bit difficult for sure. But yeah, if you spot something like that, send a report to Blizzard, give Blizzard as much information as you can, and you know, maybe it will all resolve itself nicely eventually. And so the last thing that we want to talk about in this weekly economy wrap-up is the Auction House podcast. Zanzafall was off at Bandcamp this weekend, getting his gold making badge. So I stepped in to give Jack a hand for this week's episode, which is why I've been promoting it a little bit more so than I would do normally, because I have a bit more of a vested interest for you guys to go and have a listen to it this week. But me and Jack did the podcast this week, and we went through, as it says here, a bunch of Shadowlands talk, 9.1 speculation, some crafting, and of course I don't go anywhere without talking about legendaries. So we had a bit of a discussion about legendaries. Well worth you check out the Auction House podcast if you haven't already. Since it's podcast form, it's easy to digest. You can throw it on whenever convenient. Spotify is my platform of choice for listening to it, but the Auction House podcast is readily available on most podcast platforms. Next week, Penguin is the guest on the Auction House podcast. So they'll be talking, no doubt, spreadsheets and legendaries and gold making in general again. So stay tuned for that one. But make sure you go listen to the most recent episode if you haven't already. Did you share a piece of cheese with Jack? Virtually, yes. Yes, we did. Of course, of course. But there we go. There's the weekly economy report for this week. Not a huge amount to say. I don't want to give spoilers on this. I'll let people go listen to the episode in their own time. If you want to do a little bit of further reading, diving in deeper, now of course there's the WoW Economy subreddit. There's also the Discord server. And I should use this opportunity again to, you know, thank Mr. Samadan for putting this together for us each and every week. It goes out on a Sunday evening. He talks about it in a little bit of detail over on his live stream. And we always do our best, or at least I do my best, to try and remember to go through it on a Monday for you boys and girls as well. Do I dare read comments? No, I'm not going to read comments today. I'll leave it there then. If you're watching this on the YouTube later, I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to hit the like button on the video and subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.